you see us very excited running into the data and extremely optimistic. And I really want to make that a game changer in the whole MS world treatment.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. Joining me is Immunic CEO, Dr. Daniel Vitt. Daniel, very good to speak with you. You've got a key trial readouts coming up in April, the phase 2 data of your CALLIPER trial of vidofludimus calcium in progressive MS. Could you give us an update? Where do you stand with the trial, and is the readout on track?
The readout is fully on track, so we are prepared to read out the data in April as proposed. So exciting time for the company. As you know, it's an important study and includes a lot of upside potential for vidofludimus calcium beyond relapsing MS, which is the other phase 3 study we have ongoing.
What's the overall objective for the trial? What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, maybe I need to start a little bit with what the patients need. So I hope everybody remembers that for secondary progressive MS, there's no treatment approved. For primary progressive, there's only one infusion approved. So there's a huge medical need in progressive MS. And given our mode of action we have identified and the data from earlier studies in relapsing MS, we believe the drug has shown and has the likelihood to demonstrate in this population, in progressive MS patients in the CALLIPER study, to demonstrate a clinically relevant neuroprotective effect, meaning to slow progression of the patient in the study.
Could you walk us through the trial's key endpoints and what you expect to show in April?
Yeah, that's related to what I said. So it's a phase 2 study, and the purpose of the study is to understand exactly what do we need, how should we design a phase 3 study to get it approved. And to do that, we have run that study with 467 patients with primary and with secondary progressive MS. What we want to learn, and that's how we start at the endpoint, we want to learn to what extent does the molecule slow down progression in primary progressive, in active secondary progressive, and non-active secondary progressive. So there's a lot of data we expect to come out of the study. On top of that, the endpoints also include MRI endpoints like brain volume change. That's an important endpoint. And also further endpoints like biomarkers like neurofilament light chain, GFAP, so more technical endpoints, understanding as to what extent is the holistic view on the benefit for patients with progressive MS can be addressed by vidofludimus calcium.
Could you also summarize the trial for us? What's the overall trial design, treatment duration, and how many patients are included and where is it being run?
Yeah, it's a global study. And I think the treatment duration is an important piece. So we want to demonstrate a clinical benefit. Clinical means testing progression, as I said. And to do that, you need to treat for a long time. So the duration of treatment is 120 weeks for the patients. And there's an important piece I want to make sure people get it. So if we're testing for disability worsening of patients, so a change on the so-called EDSS or EDSS plus scale, and if this event happens, then we need to wait another 24 weeks to see if that's a durable impact on disability, and we confirm it after 24 weeks. So that means the treatment is 120 weeks, but the observation and confirmation period is another 24 weeks. So it could be if an event happens at the end of the study, that even means that a patient is observed another 24 weeks on this confirmation period.
In the trial, you're also looking at different subforms of progressive MS. Which are these, and why is it important to separate, and how are these subforms represented in the CALLIPER trial?
Yes. As I said earlier, we have altogether 467 patients included in the study. That's a big phase 2 study. As I said, we want to learn what patients benefit in the best way from the treatment. And therefore, we have primary progressive, active secondary progressive, and non-active secondary progressive in the study. The highest unmet medical need is clearly from non-active secondary progressive MS, and we have 60% of our patients suffer from non-active SPMS. And there's no treatment approved, so any benefit in a study like CALLIPER would make a big difference for the patients. That's the first thing. And secondly, on primary progressive MS, there's, as I said, only one drug approved, which is Ocrevus. This is an infusion which is given twice a year to patients, and there's no oral drug approved and no switch option for the patients. And also, I think what patients are looking for is a treatment which is not dramatically lowering the immune system, like depletion of B cells, because in progressive MS, it's all about progress and no longer about the focal inflammation in the brain. So that's why also in PPMS, we are urgently looking for new treatment options, and we could also fill the gap here. And the third thing is active secondary progressive MS. There's also an unmet need that's also a little bit linked to our ongoing activity in the parallel phase 3 ENSURE studies, where we're treating patients with relapsing forms of MS, because in the United States, active SPMS is part of the RMS indication definition.
You previously reported biomarker interim data from the trial. Can you remind us what those results were?
Yeah, and maybe to first comment on the relevance of the data. These data make us excited and optimistic on the readouts. Progressive MS in the past was a difficult area. Treatments tested here usually didn't work properly or didn't work at all. So it's not an easy indication, but we think we de-risked the program in the past because of that interim readout we have done when half of the patients reached 24 weeks of treatment. And we did this interim analysis just based on biomarkers. And as I said earlier, we specifically think that neurofilament light chain, NFL, is an important biomarker for linking a biomarker response to future disability outcome or progression. So what we have seen there when we did that interim analysis more than a year ago was that every patient group benefited around 20% or even more by lowering NFL. And a lowering of NFL to that extent is likely to be correlated to a decreased risk of disability worsening. So we think this should predict a positive outcome likelihood for the clinical endpoint of the study on disability worsening.
Daniel, assuming that the April data is positive, what will the next steps for the program be?
First, we need to fully evaluate the data. We need to analyze the different subset of indications. So as I said, the PPMS and SPMS indications. Then we need to talk with the regulators. Once we've seen the data, there's maybe also reasons to ask for an expedited way forward to get it to the patients. We're already working on a phase 3 design of the study. A phase 3 trial, we know that we only need one phase 3 study to get it approved. But also what will happen, given the unmet medical need and the huge indication area of multiple sclerosis in general, and specifically the untapped potential in progressive MS, we think this really will bring us on this in the focus of all the companies actively developing multiple sclerosis drugs or selling multiple sclerosis drugs. So it will be a starting point of a lot of business development discussion with potential partners from the industry.
Daniel, I'm sure we're going to be chatting to you before that readouts in April, but thank you very much for the update today.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you see us very excited running into the data and extremely optimistic. And I really want to make that a game changer in the whole MS world treatment.